Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the podcast where we're moving the conversation forward about the choices you make in your daily life. I'm your host, Monica Cox, and I'm here right alongside of you, learning, growing, observing, and trying to make better choices consciously and subconsciously. Together, we're going to become better versions of ourselves and have raw, honest, open conversations about the things that truly affect our lives. And maybe, just maybe, finally get to a place where everyone else's BS doesn't trigger us.
It's that masculine to feminine, right? COVID hit, everybody was in hustle drive, in terrible masculine energy. We were all wounded. We just were. Own it, right? Then we go into COVID and everybody's forced to lock down, everybody's forced to slow down. You immediately went into your feminine energy. Guaranteed, most of us had anxiety. We were uncomfortable. We were feeling like shit. We were depressed, like all of that. Was that a symptom of COVID or was that a symptom in our energy shift?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Probably a mix of. But it's like we swung into this authentic self-expression space, which is so juicy and so beautiful and has a place at the fucking table. But like also, we live in a real world with real fucking humans, with complex natures on planet Earth. So like as beautiful as like this utopia self-expression authentic world is, if we don't like bring it back down to planet Earth, what are we doing? We're on Earth for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, Abigail and I just talked about that during the eclipse and stuff. And I stayed away from social media during that time because it was driving me fucking bonkers. All these like people talking about like the eclipse and this and that and that. And I was just like, this happened last year and the year before and the year before. And you guys are still like talking about the same shit. And are people waking up or are people still coming to your services because they feel stuck and they're not in their empowerment?
Yes.
Right? Just like how you talked about in the beginning, like you like I've done the same, right? But it's a very interesting thing. I know we were talking a few months ago on the DMs about strategy on social media and what you're doing. And I'm not going to sit here and go like, I only see you doing it because I don't watch fucking anyone, to be honest. um, but I do feel like what you're saying about knowing the process of your business and of your life too, and getting so in tuned with that you can duplicate those results. You know, I've been in talks with some friends and colleagues here on Hawaii doing like a retreat and stuff, and it's always in my mind of empowerment. I don't want someone to come into my space feeling like have to come back to feel that, like whatever that was in our partnership, right? Whether it's coaching or a friendship or a retreat, like to be able to walk away being so empowered, like, yeah, I would like to go again because I like your company, I like the energy, you know, I like the vibe, but I also know that if I can't make it or if I can't afford it or whatever it is, that I can be in my empowerment and still, you know, elevate and move through life.
Yes. Well, yeah, like that's like the way that I look at it is one, we should not be taking money from disempowered people.
Yeah. I love that message from you because I had a client like stop her package really early on, and I was so grateful because there's like all these red flags, and I was like, I don't actually want your money because I know that I can't help you because you're not where I'm at, right? And it's hard to know that. Like sometimes like most people don't come into my vicinity and unless they're truly ready, right? Because like we are definitely on the cray cray side of life. And you have to show up for yourself, and that's like a very important message. But yes, like I'm so there with you of like, yeah, not taking people's money. for
And
that.
it's a standard that honestly I shifted into, and it has changed the game.
Yeah.
It forced me to truthfully deepen my relationship to my work.
Yeah.
It forced me to pay attention to the results my people were getting at a level I wasn't seeing before. And I was playing at the surface before. And the surface does not produce continuous results for people. Like, that's just the truth of it. We have to look at it from every angle, from a complex angle, really, to distill what the real truth is there so that you can put that on repeat. And so to me, it's like, one, yes, it's a standard that I set, but it's also because I had this realization that, one, I don't like taking money from people who don't get results.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
genuinely don't like to support people that are a heavy lift, that
Yeah.
it's a full-blown carry. Like, I know personally the character traits that are necessary for my clients to be successful. And so there's, like, for me, when you switch your messaging and you switch your mindset to recognizing that, wait a minute, we are only serving our most empowered client. We are only serving the client who the way that I look at this is in the arena already. You
Mm-hmm.
can't decide to pull somebody into the arena. That
Yeah.
is intrinsic motivation only. And I think so many coaches, this is wounding. This is like this empath wound of, or a savior wound of, like, wanting to fix and save and be that type of person, which, one, so many women are, because that's a wounded feminine energy of, let me just do it for you. Let me help you. Let me save you. Like, nah, whatever. Like, that was that part of it. But we were taking on clients who weren't in the fucking arena. Yes, they were over here and they saw all these results over here and they saw all these people, but they didn't want to actually jump in. They didn't want to actually have to do what it takes. They just wanted the results.
Yeah.
It's like people who want although isn't Ozempic the
Oh
magic
God.
pill?
Oh
Yes.
God. Don't even
Um
start me on that.
yeah. And so, like, that to me is like, it's those types of people who are looking for the quick fix. They're looking for the magic pill, but there's no, and this is, like, so counterintuitive, because it's not that you need to work hard, you just need to work intentionally, is the way that I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but these people are lacking work ethic. That is the truth.
Yeah, you have to show up for yourself, whether you want to label it as hard or not. That's just like a choice. That's just a mindset. Like, even when you are changing habits in your day-to-day life, whether that be exercise or diet or sleep or TV or social media, it's gonna be hard just because you're, changing the neurons and, you are doing hard things. Um, but if you set yourself in the energy of this is a lifestyle and this is how I'm gonna live, it becomes easy. You don't
Yes.
overthink it. But, you know, yeah, I think there's this aspect to society that wants a quick fix. Obviously, in my industry with fertility, like, it has
Yes.
major fucking consequences, not only
Yeah.
for yourself, but really for the children.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard message to get out when it is, um, a lot of growth mentally and emotionally and spiritually, physically, all of it, right? It's not an easy journey, but
No.
it could be a peaceful journey and a joyful journey. But yeah, you have to do hard things.
Yeah. And I
That
think, like, that's it. And so it's like, when you that's and that, like, can pretty much go across the board for any coach, for any business, any niche. When you're looking at your clients, your most empowered client is the person that has a vested interest in achieving the result that you can get them through your methodology.
Yeah.
Like, that, boil multi six-figure business down. Like, that's what it is you are targeting a group of individuals who have a vested interest in achieving the outcome with your specific methodology, likely because they've tried other methodologies and it didn't fucking work.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, you pair that then with, like, the truth is like, when you add more of, like, a brand flair to that, and you develop a brand, you develop being a person, you choose how you are going to be perceived online. And I say that better match who you really fucking are in person. Like, this is about embodiment across the board. This is not about being somebody online and then being an entirely different person in your real life. Like, no, no, no. But when you can then develop a brand or develop a movement that people can get behind, that people believe and can back your beliefs and back your method and your processes, like, that's when you're really going to take it to the next level. But like, that's business. There it is, guys. Like, that is genuinely business. And now from a conscious perspective, though, that's where I say, like, integrity, if you are not integrity, you don't have a conscious business, and you're not creating part of this new earth paradigm of what it could potentially look like. You're still in capitalistic bullshit that is sleazy, that is selling snake oil, that is bullshit. Like, that's just the truth of it. And so our messaging needs to also reflect that, though. Our marketing needs to reflect that. How do we do that? Truth telling processes. Most people won't tell the truth online.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting to be the observer of that and shift yourself into that into going there, into showing up for yourself in that way. And I think a lot of people almost can't do it because it is that next phase of the journey. Like, I feel like you have to unpack a lot of luggage to get there, and then that's why so many people are invested. And I would even say there's a large portion of people who think that they're there.
Yes.
And then, like, they show up and they're like, oh, absolutely not. Like, I'm not there yet. Which, it's great. It's fine. There's no judgment. But it is that, radical honesty of, like, where am I at? What am I doing? And pure surrender. Like, I mean, obviously that is the key to life.
Oh my God, yes.
Right? That flow state, that surrender, that not in control. But how do you marry that with the doing, the consistency, the showing up? Because they're two opposite things.
Yeah. Well, and it's like carrying them. It's the same. Okay, so it's like no different. I feel like this is the day of masculine and energy talk. I swear to God, I've talked 3 times today. But that's what I think. I think for me, the way that I perceive this anyway is that when you allow yourself to just be both, and that both get to work in a parallel journey, both can happen in the exact same moment, that is when we're like in a true state of flow, where it's both allowing the energy around us and in our life and in our business to move, and you going with the flow with that, trusting that this is clearly part of your process in some way. This is clearly part of the plan. This is clearly like God is training you for something in this moment. You know what I mean? Flow with it, bitch. Flow with it, right?
Yeah.
While at the same time saying, I am equal parts a creator. I'm equal parts, just as the universe is. It's like sending that flow to you, and it's putting things in your path, and it's moving, it's whatever. It is both co-creator and creator. And you as a human are that exact same thing. Like, it truly is both. And I think like that's the perspective of masculine and feminine energy gets so diluted in this industry because I think so many people don't understand that it has nothing to do with gender.
Yeah.
Like, it has nothing to do with gender. Like, I see things all the time when they're like, oh, well, that guy's in his feminine energy. Why? Because he's wearing a dress? That's not fucking correlated. Like,
I know. I was literally having this conversation with my sons today because we were talking about the game Guess Who. And obviously you can ask, are you a boy? Are you a girl? And then I said, well, that's kind of just made up, right? Like that doesn't make you a boy or a girl. What makes you a boy or a girl are your hormones. And you can't see that shit,
Yeah.
right? Like everything else is just society's way of putting you in a fucking box. Like I
What did you?
still don't even understand these like and nothing, no shade, right? But these massive activists who are like pro like I'm a woman because I dress like this. And I'm just sitting there going like that does like
That
don't
literally
you
does
see
apply.
the
Yeah.
like the irony of all of this, that you think you're something because of a stereotype that the society you're running away from deemed to be class as being a woman? Like literally high heels were invented by a man in France and only men could wear them. Only men used to wear wigs and makeup. Like it's just so like crazy. But yeah, I think it's really important, that whole masculine energy um embodiment of knowing that everyone has both and both are so equal. And I think it's so incredibly important, empowering for women too. And this is where I think like the whole like feminine movement is a fucking joke, because we got pushed so far out of our feminine energy that we're live like, and this I had to unpack this so hard in my life, so hard in my life, to be able to be like, yeah, I do show up for my husband in ways that maybe society doesn't think is like okay anymore, because I'm not working 40 hours a week and cleaning and taking care of the kids,
And
like, and
yep.
doing all these things. Like we actually are thriving so hard right now because I stepped more into my natural flow state as a woman, as the creator, as a supporter. Not saying that I don't want to show up for myself and run a business and all those things, but um it was never going to work on all levels. My business, my sanity, my marriage, my motherhood. And like
Yeah.
once, it'd be interesting, like who, like because I don't follow a lot of people on social media. Do you feel like there's people out there talking about it, or do you think it's still a very muddy watered conversation and people are just using the language to like
Yep.
benefit their whatever, their BS?
I think truly I've seen so much shit, to be honest. Like the thing, I don't know why, but truly feminine and masculine energy from content creators, I want to choke a bitch out when I see it most of the time. I like literally I just and I don't like I generally say sometimes I'll like laugh at myself. I'm like, this has got to be a reflector part of me because like I'm here literally to reflect back the health of a community. Okay. I can I just see shit. I know shit. I don't know how the fuck I know it. I just know shit, right? And whenever anybody brings like feminine and masculine energy into a relationship dynamic in a way that says a man needs to be this and a woman needs to be this, you're fucking wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The minute like one of my old clients was like, oh, I'm in this like relationship container with these couples who they were like a dom sub couple, and his approach was like their couple approach at teaching this was about how men are supposed to be dominating and how women are supposed to essentially kick back and just receive no matter what it is. If
Yeah.
he leads, he says that you're going to jump off that fucking bridge today, you better bet your ass you be jumping off that bridge. And I was like, this literally makes no fucking
Yeah.
sense. No sense. Again, you're applying con- uh, con- conceptual abstract ideas and you're trying to implement them into relationship dynamics that just again put people in boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you said the activated, like the people with this activism, like these types of people. I literally am like, you recognize you are the one that is separating yourself.
Yeah.
You are the one that is choosing to put yourself in another camp. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah. Well,
And
I
it,
saw someone talk about it. Like, remember Dennis Rodman, the basketball
yes,
player, like growing up in the 90s? Like, he used to wear dresses and makeup, and like he was so flamboyant. No one really gave a fuck. Like,
no.
no one cared. It just was him. And obviously, you know, people to the right had their opinions, people to the left, but it wasn't this huge deal like I see it is now on the internet.
Well, and I think like this is like this is very taboo conversation we're going into, but whatever. Um I just look at it from like this angle of like it's becoming an issue because you're pushing an agenda. Do you know
Yeah.
how many fucking agendas there are? You know how many children have so much childhood trauma? Why isn't that the number one thing? Like,
Mhm.
why isn't that the number one thing we're pushing? No, we're not pushing that. We're pushing something that is honestly, God, we're pushing like identity decisions that sometimes are rooted from trauma and they're not even innate.
Yeah, and like from an epigenetic point of view, I follow this doctor on TikTok who is like put like, you know, really piecing this together with studies and stuff. It's just that the endocrine system in the mother's so the when the baby's endocrine system is forming, there's certain levels of like hormones you need at different stages. And that shit is just getting fucked up on more of a regular basis, you know, like where I do personally believe that nature will naturally do that on all sorts of like spectrums, autism, ADHD, you know, transgender stuff, you know, like that, like nature just isn't perfect. If
Right.
you know, and it doesn't need to be, right? We don't all have to be a certain way, but the facts, like the scientific facts that we are fucking up what nature is through, you know, all the methods, and that's why we're seeing more of an epidemic of confusion, of trauma, of uh, social and emotional disadvantages. I want to say, I don't want to say it's a disability, but you can't sit here and tell me someone who spent 20 years in the early education system and was neck deep in special needs that it's okay. Like, not on the grand level we're getting to, and I think we've said this before, where there's more people who need care than carers.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
when society gets switched that hard, um, so anyways, yeah, we would like fucking hell, man. That was like we've gone so far like left.
Well,
Um, but yeah, it's funny because it just ties back into how social media is misused and how people are led to believe you've got to show up a certain way and portray a character. And for me, when you were talking about that, it felt exhausting. Like, I don't know how people even have the capacity to show up a certain way online and live a completely opposite life or not even live by what they're saying. And it's interesting to watch you know, like I, I came from a functional medicine arena first and watching a lot of these functional medicine experts. I mean, they fucking know their shit, come down with all these kind of crazy autoimmune diseases and stuff. And
yeah.
I don't think they're not living what they're preaching, but they're obviously missing that energetic part, which is it ever going to be scientifically proven? I don't know. How can you prove imagination? Like, because everything's fucking made up. So literally it's never going to be proven because everyone's just fucking making it up as we go anyways.
It's well, and I think like that's the thing for me. It's like this world isn't real.
It's just not. And
But
that's
like
like such a fucked up place to get to. Like when you choose to believe that, right? When you choose to believe it is all made up,
everything is made up. Like
nothing is
every
real.
fucking
Yeah.
and that's where like I think that's why and it's funny, I'm like literally processing an aversion. I was having a conversation the other day about how much I can't stand labels, and I just fucking can't stand it. Stop with them. Like literally, I just want to be like, stop. But the reason why when I sit here is it's like you're creating more arbitrary rules and ways of being by labeling.
Yeah.
Period. Like you're doing the exact thing that you are fighting in this moment. Like how about we try an innovation this time? How about we try to look at things from a more expansive level and actually work on deeper levels of humans just accepting humans and the complex nature that exists? And what if that's the solution? Like that's the education that people need, is acceptance. People are fucking weird. I don't know a single normal fucking person. Everybody is weird.
Yeah.
Like whatever. But like that, I think like that to me is just this perspective of like coming back to this feminine and masculine energy. I think that the way that we talk about this, the way that we are adding to the conversation, we're just causing more confusion. And I think like that's the space of like, no, think more deeply. Like I literally just put on Threads a couple of weeks ago. I'm so sick of seeing people in the industry say that I can't give you concretes. I can't give you steps. I can't have you go from this to this. I can't do that. It's complex. My work is complex. I'm like, honey, no, I'm going to invite you to deepen your own thought leadership about the work that you fucking do
Yeah.
and understand what you're doing. And it's the same thing with feminine and masculine energy. Don't just look at it at the surface. This is nothing to do with gender. Quite literally nothing to do with gender. But you're playing in the surface and you're playing in this angle of, well, now that I say this, it's like when we put ourselves in these boxes, I think this is why I'm so passionate about this right now. When we put ourselves in these boxes, what we're doing is we're teaching ourselves to disown a part of us. And like for me, and I know we've had this conversation, I was in a really wounded masculine energy, hustle energy for my entire fucking life.
Yeah.
Until I, right? Then I swung so far into this feminine energy that it was like, don't put me in a box ever again. And then I realized like, that's not practical. And if I really want the things that I want in my life, I need to not deject the masculine component of who I am. That is a superpower bad bitch. That version of me, I love her. She's the get shit done. She's the one that doesn't take shit from anybody. She moves, she executes, she's amazing. But for so long, I dejected her because as a woman, we're supposed to be in our feminine. What if you can be whatever the fuck you want to be, whenever the fuck you want to be it? And what if like just that deep acceptance is actually what's going to make you thrive in your business?
Yeah, exactly. And I always just like through all this watching this, right? Because obviously discernment has been a big part of my life. And I never got really sucked in. I mean, I no, I didn't. I never got sucked into the like over like getting into the wounded feminine. It never made sense to me because I was like, well, you have to show up and build a house. Okay, do you want just 4 walls and a roof? Then that's all you have to do is build 4 walls and a roof. Do you want a bathroom? Well, it's going to be a little bit more effort. You want a kitchen? You want 2 stories? You want a pool? Like, what do you want in your life? And obviously, the decision is yours. There's no judgment if you just want 4 walls and a roof. But if you want a 5-bedroom house with a pool and a sauna and a plunge pool and Roberto, the hot Mexican gardener that you only look at, you never touch. My mom had a hot gardener once, and I even said to her, like, is he married? She's like, shut up. I was like, well, at least you got some eye candy on a Friday morning. And yeah, you have to put in that work. It's not, I mean, I guess sugar daddies, but does that make you happy? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it does.
Yeah, and I think like that's
path are.
For me, the way that, and this is like pertaining specifically to women, but like when I look at the coaching industry, whether or not we want to really see this or not, doesn't matter because it's still true. We are looking at a bunch of leaders who are going to facilitate some type of transformation for you. Leadership in and of itself is masculine. when you lead, you are in a masculine energy. I'm a really strong fucking leader, which means I have a really strong masculine energy about me. Love that part of me. But then when we like token, it's like, oh, well, she's a feminine leader. Okay, so what does that really mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you
Mm-hmm.
sold a bunch of people into the belief that you can just kick back and be in your aliveness and make millions.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
lie, y'all. It's just a lie. Like, that's the space where I look at it. It's like, it is both feminine and masculine. You can't get away from it. Surrender more deeply into it. Accept the parts of you that are super strong in whatever areas and outsource what is not a strength of yours.
Yeah.
Like, that is the truth of it. Most people, though, they just don't see that, or they just won't get there. And I guess like that's the truth. When you look at business in general, I forget what the statistic is. Oh, here it is. Over the last 170 years, 99.9% of businesses went out of business.
Mm-hmm. I
99,
believe it. I
you
believe
know,
it.
99.9% went out of business. Now, does that mean that that individual went out of business? They might have pivoted and they might have started a new business and closed that down or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's that fluidity that exists in successful business owners who are willing to pivot, who are willing to do the hard things. And it's both rooted in like what is alive, and like for us 1-3s, what we're fucking obsessed with in the moment. And what we've become an expert in, but then also just like tried and true. The fact is that like if you look at across America and you look at businesses, yeah, there's a ton of different business models, but they're all focused on messaging. They know that if they don't fucking have the right message, they're not making any sales. They're all focused on branding. Why? Because they want your brain to remember them when you are looking for that solution, right? Like there are things that are going to be true no matter what. And like the sooner that you can accept that truth that we are in this real world, and as dense and as gross as it is, everything opens up.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Kim, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure, my friend. You're going to be back. I'm not going to even say, like, maybe we'll see you next time. We'll see you next time, my friend. Obviously, all your links are down below if you would like to connect with Kim, and we'll see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again for joining us here on Choices. You can go ahead and leave a 5-star review because we're all friends here. But if you really want to move the conversation forward, please connect with us on our social media accounts, which you can find the links below. Have a beautiful week, and we'll see you next time here on Choices.